North Korea, officially the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. To the outside world, much about this East Asian dictatorship is an enigma. The dynastic Kim family has run the purportedly socialist state since Kim Il-sung took power in 1946, has worked hard to keep the outside world out, and their most closely held secrets, details about North Korea's military equipment and power. The current ruler, Kim Jong-un, would have outside observers believing that the DPRK is building a mighty arsenal of weaponry, but the reality doesn't always match the propaganda that comes out of the notoriously restrictive nation. Today, we'll be looking at the reality of the most powerful submarines, ships, and other vessels serving with North Korea's Navy today. The Korean People's Navy, or KPN as it's officially called, is believed to have roughly 780 vessels, all included from submarines to frigates to patrol boats to landing craft. If true, this would make it one of the most equipped navies in the world. However, there are conflicting reports about how many of these ships are currently in active duty and how many are viable, given the rapid advance of modern technology and the general wear and tear of age. North Korea has largely not been able to purchase military tech from other countries or exchange design information with them for decades due to sanctions and a general lack of robust relations with other nations. This means that many of their vessels, as of the early 2000s, were aging Soviet and Chinese naval tech. However, in 2013, after an embarrassing moment when two of the Navy's vessels sank after colliding during regular maneuvers in the Sea of Japan, the DPRK seems to have committed to modernizing their fleet. Nonetheless, the DPRK's Navy remains what's called a brown water navy. Few other vessels are able to venture too far from shore into the ocean. However, they are more than sufficient in river and littoral near-shore environments. So, with that in mind, let's take a look at the 9 most impressive vessels known to be active in the KPN fleet today. 1. Type 062 Shanghai II class gunboat. The Type 062 gunboat, known by NATO reporting name Shanghai II, is one in a family of gunboats produced in China for the People's Liberation Army Navy. They were first designed and built in the 1950s and were in service with the plan until the 1990s. A total of 30 Type 062 boats were built, and since retiring from service with China, have been exported for the use of the naval forces of Albania, Bangladesh, DRC, Egypt, Pakistan, Sierra Leone, Sri Lanka, Tunisia, East Timor, and most notably, North Korea. The KPN is reported to have 13 of those 30 Type 062s, all of them Shanghai IIs. Though outdated in their technology, the Shanghai II class gunboats are well armed for their size. They have a 149-ton displacement, or a little over 127 feet long, and can travel up to 33 miles per hour. They hold a complement of 36 crew members and personnel. Their relatively low speed is a large part of why so few were built in its initial run. However, the Shanghai II class are equipped with some combination of one twin Type 6657mm gun, 4 37mm guns, 4 25mm guns, one 81mm recoilless gun, and 8 depth charges. Additionally, some of these ships in the class have deep adapted into minesweepers, giving them additional usefulness. They may be part of the aging end of the North Korean fleet, but they have not yet been rendered useless, and with 13 of them on the water, they can still pack a collective punch. 2. Type 037 Submarine Chaser. Moving on to a larger and slightly more recent vessel, we have another plan-built ship, the Type 037 Corvette. Type 037s are split up into 2 boat types, missile boats and submarine chasers. The Korean People's Navy has, specifically, the Type 037 Hainan-class submarine chaser, 6 of them to be precise. The Hainan-class chasers were built in China from 1964 until 1982. They entered service in 1964 and have been in service with the plan to some degree ever since, though several of the over 100 Hainan-class ships that were built have been decommissioned and sold to other navies, including North Korea's. 2 Hainan-class boats, most notably, participated in the January 1974 Sino-South Vietnamese naval clashes, playing a key role as the fastest boats in the water at that time. It was also a Type 037 from the KPN that famously sank in the maneuver collision incident of 2013, triggering the upgrade of North Korea's naval equipment. The Hainan-class submarine chaser may be aging now, but it once was a formidable corvette. With a 470-ton displacement, it is almost 193 feet long, holds a complement of 70, and can travel at just over 35 miles per hour. It uses Soviet sonar tech and comes armed with 4 57mm guns, 4 25mm guns, 4 anti-submarine rocket launchers, 2 anti-sub mortars, and 2 depth charge rails holding 20 depth charges and 10 mines. It is also one of only a handful of vessel models in use by North Korea with a range of over 2,000 miles. 3. Type 021 Huang Fang class missile boat. Up next, we turn to the Type 021 Huang Fang class missile boat, a boat a little larger than the Type 062, also designed and manufactured in China in the 1960s and 70s. The Huang Fang class was the first of 3 models built under the Type 021 umbrella, and it was a direct copy of the Osa class missile boat in use at that time by the Soviet Union, with some improvements made to fire safety and range. China received 7 Osa-class vessels in the mid to late 60s, and subsequently produced well over 100 units for domestic use and export at Hudong Shipyard. 4 of these missile craft remain in service in North Korea with the KPN. The boats have a 225-ton displacement and are 127 feet long. They hold a complement of just 28, and can, similarly, travel up to 35 miles per hour. They come equipped with 4 AK-230s, 2 25mm guns, and 4 supersonic anti-ship missiles. They are primarily and effectively used, along with the rest of North Korea's extensive complement of smaller missile craft and patrol boats, in swarm missile attacks. You may be starting to see a pattern here. A not insignificant portion of the KPN's fleet was built in the People's Republic of China. There are also a handful of Soviet-made vessels still in use, but many of those are being retired or aging out of service. That said, from here on out, as we move into bigger and newer vessels, we'll be seeing all North Korean-built ships. While North Korea has, in the past, purchased naval equipment from nations friendly to them, they have always also built their own ships, and today are focusing exclusively on building at home, though sometimes building based on the designs of those previously purchased foreign vessels. 4. Nongo-class warship. One of the difficulties with more recent models designed and built in the DPRK is that we have less information and technical specifications, thanks to the country's sweeping closed-door policies. That said, there are things we do know, thanks to satellite pictures and expert analysis, about this relatively new class of mid-size warships. First entering service sometime in the early 2000s, there are believed to be 6 of these stealth medium-sized warships in the KPN's fleet. They're said to have formed the core for the modernization of the North Korean Navy. Nongo class, for the record, is the identifier given to the class by the US Department of Defense and not an official name. It's believed the design for the Nongo class dates back to the 90s and was based on an even earlier 80s model of warship, the Soho class. The Nongo class has 3 known subtypes, and armaments seem to be based on the subtype. The primary model, Stealth Surface Effect Ships, SES, and 2 versions of smaller, less stealth-centric missile boats. The primary model has a 200-ton displacement, is 131 feet long, and can travel just over 55 miles per hour, making it a fast attack ship from a technical standpoint. Originally, it was believed that the stealth warships carried only surface artillery weapons, but in 2015, satellite pictures showed one of the stealth vessels running tests with a Kh-35 Soviet subsonic anti-ship cruise missile. 5. Nampo-class corvette. Another North Korean-built class of warships, the Nampo-class corvettes are a class of warships that first appeared in service with North Korea in 2013-14. At between 1,300 and 1,500 tons full displacement and 249 feet long, they are much larger and newer than any of the other ships on this list so far. Like the Nongo class, they share some characteristics with the earlier Soho class, and the Nampo in particular is believed to have been designed as a replacement for the aging Sohos. To date, 2 Nampo class vessels have been launched, and it's believed a third one is under construction. Admittedly, little is known about their features and armament, given their fairly recent launch and infrequent appearances. However, they are known to carry anti-submarine rockets, leading experts to believe they were developed in response to recent advancements in South Korea's fleet of submarines. Perhaps most interestingly, these corvettes, sometimes classified as light frigates for their function but corvettes from a technical standpoint, appear to have a black helicopter deck and, possibly, a small hangar. This is of note because North Korea does not, at the moment, have anything classified as an aircraft carrier with very minimal aviation to naval capabilities, but these developments could mean they're dipping their toe in that water. 6. Naijin-class large frigate. Continuing onward, we turn to the Naijin-class frigate. While an older model relative to our last two entries, they are notable for their size. They are among the largest vessels in the entire North Korean naval fleet. The Naijin-class vessels were built between 1971 and 1979. At least 4 were completed, and at least 2 remain in service today, one of which was modernized in 2014. Outdated weaponry was replaced with automated turrets and 2 missile racks to hold up to 8 Kh-35s. With a 1,600-ton displacement, this large frigate is 328 feet in length, carries a complement of 180 personnel, and travels at speeds of up to 30 miles per hour. And most importantly for the KPN, the Naijin class has a range of roughly 4,600 miles. All that would make it seem fairly impressive, but there is one drawback. A 2007 guide out of Annapolis' Naval Institute Press published findings that the ship's design is inherently flawed to the point of being dangerous, stating that even a minor missile failure will result in significant damage to the ship. North Korea nonetheless saw fit to update these ships, so maybe they're working on a structural fix too. Or maybe not. 7. Yono-class miniature submarine. For the final 3 vessels on this list of the most powerful ships of the North Korean Navy, we'll be focusing on submarines, from the smallest and oldest to the newest and largest of the best submarines in service with the KPN. First up, we have the Yono-class submarine, a miniature submarine built by the North Korean Navy Yukdaeso Reed Naval Shipyards in the 1960s. Roughly 36 were built for domestic use and export, and of those, 10 are in service with North Korea today. While many of the rest are said to be in reserve, an unknown number are believed to have been sold and shipped to Iran for the use of their navy. With a 130-ton displacement, these mini-subs are just 65 to 72 feet long and hold a crew of 2 plus an additional complement of 6 or 7 Special Forces personnel. They travel at maximum speeds of just 9 to 13 miles per hour and are equipped with mines and 2 torpedo tubes. Despite being relatively small and slow, it's believed that one of these subs was used to successfully attack and sink a South Korean corvette in 2010. While they'll likely eventually age out of service, at the moment, these miniature vessels form a small but menacing part of North Korea's naval force. 8. Sangho-class submarine. Up next, we have the Sangho, or Shark, class of submarines, built in the 1980s at Bongdao-bo Shipyards in Singpo, North Korea. First introduced to service in 1991, today, North Korea is believed to have upwards of 40 of these subs in 2 variations. This is also the class of submarine known to be used by North Korean Special Forces. This model is one we know a bit more about, as one ran aground in 1996 and was captured by South Korea. The known specs of the Sangho are as follows. It has a 370-ton displacement when submerged, it's about 111 feet long, and it can travel about 10 miles per hour underwater. It carries a 15-person crew and has tubes fitted for Russian 5365 KE torpedoes. It also has a snorkel and snorkeling mode, presumably for looking at the fishes. Or, well, maybe something a little more sinister. It was widely reported that an updated version, the Sangho 2, was introduced around 2004. That model is less well known, but is believed to be a bit longer and faster and to have a longer range than the earlier model. 9. Sinpo-class submarine. Last but certainly not least, we come to the new Sinpo-class submarine, an experimental ballistic missile submarine introduced in 2014. With a 2,000-ton submerged displacement, the Sinpo-class submarine is the largest submarine and among the largest vessels in the North Korean Navy. It is roughly 223 feet long and is estimated to hold a 70 to 80 person complement. But most worrying, the new sub is built to carry submarine-launched ballistic missiles. This is the sub that is believed to have launched a ballistic missile into the Sea of Japan in 2016. A successful test that marked a major military victory for Pyongyang and an aggressive act carefully watched by Western governments. Many international bodies condemned the provocative launch. To date, only one Sinpo-class submarine has entered service, but there are rumors that the DPRK may be building as many as 5 more. The final count remains to be seen, but reports are that at least one even larger version of the Sinpo class is presently in progress at Sinpo shipyard. The under construction vessel is believed to be another ballistic missile submarine, this one with a 3,000-ton displacement. If successfully completed, it will be by far the most intimidating vessel in North Korea's rapidly modernizing fleet. And there you have it. Those are the 9 toughest vessels in service with the Korean People's Navy today. What do you think? Do some of these parts make for an intimidating naval force? How do you think these vessels compare to those of other modern forces? Can North Korea catch up to the powerful, well-armed forces of other world powers? Weigh in down in the comments to let us know. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you found this subject interesting, and subscribe if you want to make sure you never miss out on more true modern military information like this.